Here's what LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, told Politico. Hope is quickly turning into frustration. Constantly, we are showing up to protect democracy. When in the hell are those who claim that they are committed to democracy going to show up to protect those that protect democracy? Joining me now, LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. LaTosha, you have spoken patiently with us for a very long time. You, too, are running out of patience, but at the same time, you are being joined by this direct action. We are seeing arrests and acts of civil disobedience on a daily basis across America in a manner that we have not seen largely since the Civil Rights Movement.
Absolutely, because we've not seen the kind of affront, the kind of attack on voting rights that we are seeing right now is similar to what we saw in the 60s. This isn't just about voter ID. This is about states and the GOP putting themselves in a position where they're weaponizing the administrative process so that they can actually take over on the election results. You know, we're seeing that in Georgia. We're seeing that all across this nation, you know, to the extent that the Texas Democrats had to flee from their homes to go to D.C. to try to stop this voter suppression. That talks about, I think that's a demonstration of how intense this fight we're in right now. And so while we're seeing these direct actions, it's not going to stop. This is not something that is just going to go away. This is not something that we can out-organize or out-litigate. We're going to have federal legislation to make sure that we protect voting rights and really unravel what a lot of the damage that Republicans are doing right now.
Let's take a look at the states that are enacting restrictive laws right now. These are states enacting voting rights laws, pushing for audits, things like that. And then, of course, you've got this. I want to show you a second map here. These are states that are actually efforting these audits, like Pennsylvania and Michigan, where they may not get much traction, but they are trying. LaTosha, until people who are not directly affected by this, as you in Georgia were or people in Texas were, until everybody understands that this is an affront on all voting rights, we're not activating the rest of the population. How do we get people to understand this is their problem? This is not a black urban problem. This is not a black voters in the South problem. This is a democracy problem.
You know, I think there's a number of things that we have to do. One, we have to be honest to lift up what is happening right now. That this isn't just what happened in Georgia. We're seeing this widespread all across the nation. And while black voters and brown voters have been targeted in this, and many of those states that you've seen the most egregious laws come up, the truth of the matter is that it is going to impact all voters. And that's every single one of us. You know, anytime, I think one of the pieces that we have to also help people to understand is that anytime a political party, be it the Libertarian, the Green, the Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. Anytime a political party abuses their power to really be able and their authority to actually put laws in place so that whoever does not vote for them, they can punish or they can prevent them from voting or make it more difficult, that in itself is political corruption. That is literally the unraveling. That is how democracy dies. When we look at democratic institutions and nations all across the world, that when you're starting to see the effects of democracy and how democracy was taken down, we're seeing those effects right now. We're seeing those steps. And so we've got to really recognize that there's a larger issue that's really even beyond just the right to vote, that anytime a party is abusing the administrative process to literally be able to navigate and create the results that they want, which is precisely what Trump was asking them to do in the last election.